Do you want MLS to be as dramatic as Mexican soccer? How pumped are you for this year's Summer of Soccer? And we check in on the USL expansion across the country here on Friday's Morning Kick Around.
All right, Rob, what are we doing here? What is this thing? Whoops. Sorry about that.
That's right. We're doing it live here. This is Morning Kicker, and hello and welcome to the show. The sound of Jason Davis and Franz Peckenpower means one thing. You found your way to Morning Kick Around, where we cover the world's favoriteest game from the world's favoriteest country, coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, Friday, up from the lower leagues. I'm Robert Kerr. Coming down from the satellites above, he's Jason Davis. I hope that everybody is doing great this weekend. So much soccer to be had. Can't wait to talk about it here. How you feeling? Loving the shirt today, too.
Thank you. Philadelphia Union representing for first place in Major League Soccer. Their surprise package of ML. Well, that's not true. Vancouver's a surprise package. But Philadelphia.
Eastern Conference surprise package. When we all thought that they were going to be lowly and down, super supporters in the chat thinking that the window had closed, but a new possibilities it may become.
That's right. Who knew that Bradley Carnell was the guy to turn the Philadelphia Union into this year's juggernaut of the East? We'll see. We are going to talk about the Eastern Conference a little bit, Major League Soccer, not because of the Union, because of some other high-profile teams. So I'm excited for that. Shout out to your Oakland County. I know you're repping your shirt there again, and Rob's excited because the season is underway. He's riding buses. He's doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm living my, I get to lead the life I want to live for like 3-4 months a year with the Summer Soccer League. I have a team right down the street from my house and taking it to another level. We are 2-1 early the way through the season, and it's so short and intense, only a 12-game season. So 3 games in, we're already 25% of the way, which is insane. But home game 2 tomorrow in my hometown, so Oakland County versus Northern Indiana. Couldn't be more excited. Lots of cool match day presentation stuff, some mild pyrotechnics, and then the stream that we're putting together. Unfortunately, we're behind. You got to sign up for it, but the Sports Engine Play, all the USL 2 games are on Sports Engine Play, which is a barrier. But
I know what
our
that is.
Oakland County FC's stream will be the best in USL 2, I bet, this weekend.
That's great. That's great. Lower division soccer in America, grassroots soccer in America. Robert Kerr propping it all up. Oakland County, Michigan. All right, let's go, Rob.
All right. If you want to help us get this show growing to its fullest, you can start by subscribing. We have crashed past 2,200, I think, going towards 5K, 10K, and beyond. Please do so if you haven't done so, and tell your friends and family to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Take it to the next level. Memberships, only $3.99 a month. Gets you priority commenting, gets you access to the Discord, which might be one of the biggest benefits, the Discord conversations. If you ever want to talk a variety of American soccer things, and we even have a channel for the Euro stuff as well on there. Great place to, share opinions and some takes. And I always like it when something great is going on in the soccer hemisphere. And some chats are, just popping off, everyone reacting to the same thing. Shared experiences in soccer can be had on the Morning Kick Around Discord channel. And many more benefits, including early access to videos. I think we're going to be adding some more of those in the coming days as well. Outside of the YouTube hemisphere, you can support us on coffee.com/morningkickaround, where you can donate there. And also, you can watch us as a podcast on Spotify. Can you believe it? Look up on your favorite podcast platform to listen to us, but you can also view us on Spotify, and that helps us out a ton too. A different way to watch the show. Follow us on social media at mkickaround, X, Instagram, Blue Sky. Write us an email at morningkickaround@gmail.com. You ready for some segments, Jason?
Let's go. Let's do this.
All right, let's kick some long balls on Fridays. Morning Kick Around. Let's do it. All right, long ball number one here on Friday, May 30th. Should the United States and Major League Soccer take its drama cues from Mexico? We have plenty off the field and administrative drama, but on the field, can
Yeah.
we match Mexico? Do we want to match Mexico? A statement from Club America throwing some serious shade at the Pachuca group, thinking
Yeah.
about making up fake news about their players, maybe trying to get them, suspended or something like that. That is some pretty high level trolling and drama.
Yeah, let's first say that I don't know what the truth is here. I don't want to pretend like I understand exactly what's real and what's not when it comes to this story. But as you said, Club America, who has that massive game against LAFC with a berth in the Club World Cup on the line. This is huge for these two clubs. And we talked about on Wednesday, the game sold out. It's a big deal. People are very excited about it. Whatever you think about the Club World Cup, these two teams definitely care. They want to be playing in that tournament. And I caught that Club America put out a statement so I guess the story is that there are rumors, things came out in the press that Club America's goalkeeper, who is Luis Angel Malagon, was accused of some sort of domestic violence incident with his wife. So Club America puts out a statement saying fake news, basically fake news. And they imply, without naming names, they imply that it's Grupo Pachuca that was putting out these fake rumors about Malagon because they're salty. Grupo Pachuca, of course, salty that Club Leon got kicked out of the Club World Cup, and Club America might have a chance to get in by beating LAFC in that playoff. And that is spicy stuff. And we have nothing like this in American soccer, Rob. Nothing. I'm jealous.
You're jealous of it. Definitely gives you plenty to talk about if this was the sort of thing in the mix on the afternoon drive for American soccer. But that's pretty unreal, and that's getting into some pretty dicey territory because there could be. I mean, even if you put out a fake news, it almost makes the authorities have to investigate it in some way, right? That has to be dug into. So now reporters have to see, is there some truth to this? So even if it's a false claim or based in reality, it's going to cause some sort of a reaction and action. So you're wading into some dicey territory there to throw that out there. But vendettas are real, a human condition that people can fall into, and there is probably some history of vengeance driven acts in this world, and so it's not out the realm of possibility. And I'll say this one more time: following soccer and soccer rumors made me understand what fake news is more than I feel like the average citizen. Like, if you see a transfer rumor, I feel like you're more educated to know that this might not be reality, and there might be some other forces in the mix. Like you said, with this,
I don't know.
Is this a star player?
Hold on. I don't think that being a soccer fan who can understand when a transfer rumor is probably nonsense necessarily inoculates you against the fake news of the political kind or the conspiratorial side. But I do understand what you're saying. I think
like 10-year jump on recognizing the
maybe. I still think there are a lot of soccer fans who are pretty bad at picking out what's fake news and what's not. I'm just saying.
Well, that's soccer fan at least.
I talk to soccer people on a regular basis. Sometimes I'm like, you believe that? Really? Wow. In this case, I mean, I don't know that this is the thing we should be taking a cue from, right? I said that before the show. We brought it up as a conversation because it is fascinating that there is this back and forth in this sniping and these allegations being levied by Club America against Grupo Pachuca. But this is about sort of the ownership going after the ownership, right? Like if Grupo Pachuca did this, we don't know. Big is true. But if they did this and they were responsible for spreading rumors about Malagon having a domestic violence incident with his wife, that's really low stuff. That is terrible. That is dirty pool, right? But it's more about the saltiness on the part of the ownership group of Grupo Pachuca than it is on like Leon fans doing stuff like this. Although, again, fans are known for this stuff. I don't know, the first thing that comes to mind is not soccer related. It's like the guy who poisoned the trees at Auburn, the Alabama fan who poisoned the trees at Auburn.
Oh,
like that kind of stuff. You don't want it to happen, right? This is the tension. Like, I don't want people to do bad things because that's bad. I shouldn't be somebody who wants bad things to happen. And yet when they do happen and I'm not responsible for the bad thing, I may revel in the salacious nature of it a little bit. Because I think what we think we're missing a lot in American soccer is that level of passion that makes people do crazy stuff. Now, don't fight. Again, it gets into this thing like I'm scolding and wagging my finger about certain behavior, but I kind of want there to be other behavior, and I don't know if I get to pick and choose.
When you described yourself being removed from the consequences, reminded me of that Bill Hader meme of where he's playing the host, where he was like, "Oh, that's terrible," and he's like, "You seem kind of, oh no, I'm not psyched." It's like when the shoe's on the other foot, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, when the engine of insanity is already running, and then you sort of like arrive to kind of take that in and consume that insanity, but you're not responsible for having started it. It's a lot easier to deal with than like kind of saying from this point, like what we need in American soccer is more insanity. Well, first of all, we've had a little bit. It just maybe hasn't risen to the level of like getting a big time attention. Like Breck Shea existed. Like Breck Shea was a thing. That way it happened. And there may be other examples of things like I'm sure longtime MLS fans could come up with stuff. And look, it just came up on the Best Soccer Show that I did last night. In 1998, we didn't know exactly what was going on at the time and only found out later when it was confirmed. But in 1998, the captain of the U.S. men's national team was left off the World Cup squad because he was having an affair with his teammate's wife. Like that's a legitimate thing that happened in American soccer. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we have this. It's just a different level of sort of visibility because soccer hasn't reached that national conversation level.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's just not in the spotlight as heavily. Huge drama, what you mentioned with the aforementioned adultery within the same team. I'm trying to think of who are the American soccer villains. I think there has been for short periods of time. I mean, I think Bruce Arena was a little bit for a moment there when the qualification didn't happen. Jurgen Klinsmann was a bit when he left off Donovan off the World Cup selection.
He was.
But like within the league, like was there a guy in Major League Soccer where like that guy was just bad business? I mean, like a guy that I'd love on my team, but never want to face him.
You had Steven Lenhart in San Jose when they had the Bash brothers for a moment. People really didn't like him. He was known for being pretty aggressive as a forward. I don't know. There have been some midfield types, hard-nosed guys, crunching tackles kind of guys that I guess. I do think it has to be because it's this is obviously the catch-22 for MLS. Villains are great for the conversation. They're great for entertainment value. But if you have a league that doesn't rate among the elite leagues of the world, it's tougher to sell a player as sort of some sort of villain. I do think it's interesting, and I wrote about this in my newsletter. It's interesting that Miami has become the target, the villain for a lot of people. And maybe that was sort of a natural thing that was always going to happen based on the attention that Messi got and sort of how much oxygen he was taking up when he arrived. But there's an extra level to it now. It's weird. Messi has taken to whining about refs that never makes you beloved outside of your own fan base. So I don't know. It is interesting. I mean, you can't manufacture villains, right? This isn't pro wrestling. Although I do think Johnny Infantino is doing pro wrestling like things with the Club World Cup. This isn't pro wrestling. It's not the WWE. And yet you kind of I'm waiting for that thing to happen where we get that real conversation. Those villainy kind of things happen to make the game more interesting.
And with MLS's structure of parity and whatnot, there's probably not a team good enough for long enough to become that hated team over a long time. I guess LA Galaxy has a little bit. Ricky Puig, okay, they were on their path to becoming a really good, maybe perhaps return to hateable status. If they had continued, Ricky Puig doesn't get injured and they continue to be a really good team. Even though he's a very likable guy, almost cartoon character like, but could he have turned into a villain?
Absolutely. I think people didn't like. I think he had a pretty boy image. He had the hair. It was a lot, and he's always bouncing. He's moving around. So he's very easy to dislike if you're not a Galaxy fan. I think I liked him, but I think a lot of people might not feel that way about Ricky Puig. I will say you're kind of making a point that I brought up. It's harder in MLS for these things to happen because it's harder in MLS to maintain success year in and year out for a long period of time. Which again, you don't maybe want one or two or five teams to dominate the league because that makes the league less interesting to the fans of teams who are not at that level. This is parity, right? Parity has now entered the chat as part of why we don't have this as much, right? And you can't even say, well, someone should just do what the Patriots did and put together a long run of success in a league that values parity, like the NFL. The difference being that the NFL is the pinnacle of the sport. And so Bill Belichick could go to talented players and say, hey, we can't pay you as much, but you'll have a chance to win with Tom Brady if you come play for us. In American soccer, it's like, well, you can't sell that story because players will go, well, this is Major League Soccer. I want to go play in England. I want to go play in Germany. I want to go play in Spain or France. You're not selling me. Why would I take less money here in this middling league when this is not the end all be all? Winning a championship here is not my life goal. So that is interesting.
I don't want to go too long on this one. Maybe we'll shorten the next long ball here, but Lucho Acosta getting booed. There's some on-field drama for you. I mean, he forced his way out of a team, goes back to him, and is surprised that he got booed. I mean, that's kind of saucy.
Yeah, no, that one definitely has some heat to it. And I'm this is the kind of thing, like, is it bad behavior? Yes. Does it cross any lines? No, not really. Lucha Acosta is just being a prima donna, and that's fine with me. If he goes to Cincinnati, gets booed, and then it's like, why are you booing me? I deserve better. It's like, bro, you wanted to leave. You actually like were making a big deal about staying and how happy you were, and then like a couple months later, you're like, I'm out. I want to get out of here. Trade me. So how could you not be booed? Like that the fact that he is so oblivious to how fans are going to feel about him makes him a prima donna and a villain, and I think that is great. Like, and I just wish he was on a better team now, so that his exploits with his new team could become part of the story, because Dallas isn't there yet. And the other thing is that Dallas is playing in front of like 10,000 people because half their stadium is closed. So it is not, it doesn't have that like big time feel about it the way it would if this was, a back and forth between the two biggest teams in baseball or something.
Another note, maybe we were not short on drama, and to your point that it might not just be center stage, because the California-based Major League Soccer team seem to be embracing the ultra culture. I feel like we see clips of some fights and some brawls going on pretty regularly out there now.
That's why I said don't fight. Don't do the chant and don't fight. That's a message for San Diego fans. This is what I'm talking about, sort of policing certain behavior, but wanting other behavior. And look, I think everybody knows where the line is. Violence is across the line. Being an actual thug, hooligan, whatever you want to pretend to call yourself, an ultra, the Barra Brava, stop it already. Like that cosplaying. Like you're not. Your team is in its first season. Do not tell me that you are so passionate about your club you got to go fight people over it. I mean, even the Millwall, West Ham, all that stuff from the hooligan culture of England is all nonsense and performative. So that's what we don't want.
Yeah. We shall see. And one last shout on this men's national team football comment. Matt Miazga's F Cincinnati provides the drama. Can't lie there. But moving on to long ball number 2, Americans abroad. We have to check in on them a little bit. There's a special Club World Cup window coming up, and some Americans kind of jostling for where will they spend their World Cup build-up season. I think the storyline that kind of jumps out to me this morning is the rumor of Johnny Cardoso to Atleti in Madrid. Interesting. Obviously a frustrating player. We haven't seen the magic here for the national team, but has been doing pretty darn well, being considered for a top 3 team in Spain.
Yeah, disappointing end to the season for Real Betis with the loss in the Conference League final to Chelsea. They look like they might be able to do it. They took the lead in that game and then just kind of folded. Cardoso was fine. I mean, he wasn't the problem. He did have a kind of a chance that he didn't take, although it was blocked. So it was a good defensive play on the Chelsea side. He is, he was reportedly earmarked for a move to Spurs, and Spurs even negotiated a 25 million euro fee for him with Betis. But this all comes down to whether he wants to go. You can't force the move. It's just not how football transfers work. So Johnny Cardoso has now decided he would rather go up the road to Madrid and play for Atleti than play for Tottenham Hotspur. And I cannot blame him at all. And apparently that option that Spurs have on Johnny Cardoso expires in a couple weeks. That's the report. He would be playing Champions League football. He'd be playing in one of the soccer capitals of the world. He would be playing for one of the great managers of the last 2 decades. He'd be playing presumably in a system that would benefit him the way that Atletico Madrid plays. This makes too much sense. And not that if he stayed at Betis, that would not be the end of the world. That's a very good team, and they've obviously done some things, and they've qualified for Europa League next year. But if Johnny Cardoso was elevating his game and moving up in the world, Atleti is an incredible place to go. The other thing is, obviously, as you mentioned, for the U.S. men's national team, it hasn't quite come to the fore. But as a fan of the U.S. men, we certainly want our players playing at the highest level possible. And hopefully what you see is Cardoso gets this move or something happens. He's playing for Atletico Madrid going into a World Cup where he figures to be a part of the U.S. men's national team effort.
Looking across the kind of the American player pool that's across Europe and overseas right now, is there any other players that kind of come into the scope? Like in the afternoons, has there been any more kind of juice on any players outside of Cardoso?
I mean, that's the thing. It's very quiet on that front. We've got Ricardo Pepi coming back from injury. He was one we thought might be moving on from PSV Eindhoven if he kept up his scoring exploits, but I think the injury has put a halt on that. Giovanni Reina, it's crickets right now, Rob. I've heard nothing. I don't think anybody is talking a lot about his potential move, whatever that looks like. I mean, let's remember, you mentioned the special window for Club World Cup play, and everybody who has a Club World Cup team in that tournament, every league that has a team in that tournament has an open window for 10 days, except for Major League Soccer, who chose to limit it just to the teams involved. So I guess what we could say is like the window's not open yet. The real window's not open yet. Does the 10-day window mean anything? Well, it might for Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's going to Real Madrid. They're willing to pay a premium. I don't know why, but they're doing it because they really want him to come to America for some reason. I think there's rumors about Ronaldo signing with a different Saudi team so he could play in this Club World Cup. And I know you were talking about how, thank you for doing the work. Rob said he was watching Gianni Infantino talk to iShow's Speed today, which is not something I signed up for. So I'm glad that you were doing that. And Johnny, of course, famously, he mentioned maybe Ronaldo could play in this tournament. I was like, what are you talking about? First of all, how would Gianni Infantino know? Because
I'm sure he's got phone numbers to Saudi Pro League teams, and it wouldn't surprise me if Ronaldo's in his phone. I wouldn't surprise me.
No, I'm sure he is, but it's all ugly and gross that Gianni Infantino has some insight as to whether a Saudi team is going to sign Ronaldo to play in this thing. And I'm sure, again, Johnny is so just blatantly greedy, money. This is his deal is to make this thing as big as possible. He knows Ronaldo has millions of followers, 1 billion followers around the world, and this might help the tournament. So if he can maneuver Ronaldo to a different team so he can play in this tournament, even though it kind of undermines the credibility of the tournament, if there is any credibility in this tournament, I mean, I guess, we're going to talk about how excited we are for the summer of soccer later. I think this might come up with that. Yeah, I don't know. Giovanni Reina, nothing happening yet. Looks like, players like Serginho Dest is going to stay. Jedi Robinson had a lot of heat around a potential transfer. He just had surgery. It's why he's not with the national team this summer. Is something in the offing for him? He is not a young player, so it would be a team who wants to win now with one of the best left backs in the Premier League. I don't see any of the center back pool moving. It looks like Weston McKennie's going to sign a new contract with Juve, even though that's not done yet.
That's what I was going to chirp in with, was that we speculated, like, is he ever going to find a forever home? And if this extension that, by the looks of it, I'm looking at CBS Sports, they're saying that they're looking to extend him to 28, make him one of the highest earners. So that would move Weston McKennie away from the utility stopgap guy into a guy they think is a major piece, because he's kind of been kicking the can for the stopgap guy, and now he's becoming the guy, apparently, if it goes over the line.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is still the question of who is going to be the manager at Juve.
Yeah, and Pulisic's manager's out too.
Yeah, well, Conceição was out, and I've seen reports that Allegri's in, so that'll be interesting. I don't know if that's confirmed yet. It looked
Talk
like
about
Juve.
retreads.
Yeah, Juve was lining up Antonio Conte, who obviously just won the Scudetto with Napoli, but apparently there's talk that he wants to stay in Naples. So if that is the situation, it looks like Allegri is confirmed at Milan. So okay, well, what does that mean for Christian Pulisic is open, and obviously,
Allegri plays with like 0 attacking players, right?
how the and look, doing the transfers is Leao staying. There's a lot going. There's a lot that can happen. We just don't have a lot of smoke right now when it comes to moves.
Long ball number 3 here. A Friday tradition returns, the Fab Four games to look out for across the North American soccer calendar. It is chock full. Competitions in many different competitions, but we'll go around the horn. We'll go Jason, myself, producer Jenny, and then go to the chat. So, chat, if you have a game that you're carving out time for and that you really just is a can't miss, put that in the chat. We will have you as the 4th in the Fab Four. But Jason, lead us off. Pick one for this weekend's Fab Four games to watch.
I'm just gonna go to what I think is a pretty obvious candidate in Major League Soccer. I mean, it's a big league and there are lots of games, but if I'm looking for storylines in this weekend's matchups, I don't have to go farther than Inter Miami hosting the Columbus Crew. Because you've got these are what I think people thought were the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference coming into the year, Rob.
Are they going to play that one in Jacksonville?
No, they are not playing that one because of the stadiums. I'm confused.
Are they going to play that in Tampa Bay?
No, they're playing.
No, they should probably play that in the city that the team
see.
plays in, right? Not like Cleveland
right.
for Columbus.
Well, there is an NFL stadium in Miami, and yet they're not doing it there.
No. We got to move it 2.5 hours up the street.
You're right. I guess that's the deal. But there's no shared ownership situation. Jorge Mas doesn't own a football team in Jacksonville or Tampa, so I guess you can't do it that way.
Not yet.
Inter Miami, Columbus, again, thought to be the 2 best teams coming into the season. Obviously, Philadelphia has had a good year. Cincinnati's good. We know that, despite the loss that they just suffered. I would say, Inter Miami getting on the right side of the ledger with the win over Montreal doesn't say a lot. Right? You're supposed to beat Montreal. Now, Messi had a good day. Yeah, I don't know that things clicked. This will be the test. Is Inter Miami on their way back, or is this more pain coming? And can Columbus, who I think has also hit a little bit of a dip, maybe not a dramatically poor run of form that's seen them drop too far down the table, but they haven't won in a while. So can they make a statement about their intent by beating Inter Miami in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, great barometer. And I mean, that away, the reverse fixture saw Columbus miss about a dozen chances, and Miami scored the only goal with like their 1 shot on goal. So it'll be interesting to see what that return fixture. That's Saturday at 7:30. My pick 2 of the Fab Four. While I want to pick Oakland County versus Northern Indiana in USL 2, I will go with the perhaps bigger scope of interest. Sunday night, 9:00. CONCACAF Champions Cup final, the unlikely darlings of Major League Soccer, Vancouver Whitecaps take on Cruz Azul, making it the 3rd out of 3 Canadian Major League Soccer teams to make it to this stage of the competition.
Yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, we'll see if Vancouver has the juice to do what they've been doing in Mexico, which is playing teams to a standstill. Let's remember they didn't win in Mexico, but they got the results they needed in Mexico. And there's a little bit of controversy around this, Rob, because Vancouver was given the option to skip the midweek date on Wednesday, but apparently the club decided to play. That they looked at their metrics and they said, actually, we're pretty good on short rest. Now they have to fly to Mexico. They have to play in Mexico City, Mexico City is a clean air city. Is that right, Rob?
I've heard it's really famous for its air purity.
Yeah, especially at those altitudes. So this is a wild thing. Like if Vancouver loses this game, people are going to point back to Wednesday and go, "Why'd you play? Why'd you play on Wednesday?" And it's not like they rotated and kept all their stars off the field in that match, which ended in a goalless draw. They played the guys, so that could be a thing.
And it's wild that Vancouver, I think the only game they've lost so far is when Major League Soccer played through the Nations League window. That was the only thing. I think that's still their only loss. of the season so far. And then maybe Vancouver, with your description of the approach, maybe they learned from Columbus when they had their difficult trip to Mexico. They did all sorts of crazy, like cryogenic training and
Yeah, but
elevation and shipping in
they,
their water and all that. And it
they
didn't
also
go well
got
for
food
them.
poisoning. They also got food poisoning or whatever it was.
Well,
Something
maybe.
happened.
Well, so that's the point. Vancouver is going to just like a parachute in and out. Maybe they will put absolutely nothing into their bodies in their whole time to Mexico, because from what I understand, Columbus, they took some painstaking measures to be prepared for the conditions in Mexico, and it still went south for them.
Right.
Long ball number, or Fab Four pick number 3, coming from producer Jenny. The United States women's national team back in action Saturday, 5:30. Busy Saturday of football. I mean, I think you can watch from about 1 o'clock all the way until about 1 in the morning, nonstop block of football. But the women's national team looking to rebound from their 2-1 loss to Brazil back in April, but they will face China Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, this is the ongoing process of expanding the player pool and getting new faces and getting towards 2027, far enough away from that tournament that it doesn't feel all that important. And honestly, despite the history that these teams share, probably the United States should be favored to beat China regardless at Allianz Field in St. Paul. Giselle Thompson has pulled out due to a hip injury, so that's one bad break for Emma Hayes. Yeah, shout out to Ian Webb. That's pretty good. El Terrifico is pretty good. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for good jokes. So I mean, look, there are obviously some players in this group that you're going to want to see play that are, exciting players that everybody can rally around here. Players that have potential big roles to play in the U.S. women's national team of the future, but it's still early enough that you're kind of like, okay, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, looking down the scheduled games for the American women, China tomorrow, Tuesday against Jamaica, and then the end of June, another window with a pair of games against Ireland, and then one against Canada, all friendly. So definitely the building time for that program. So Fab Four, number 4 pick, we go to the chat. I see a few names thrown out there. You'll have to help me with the pronunciation of this commenter. Tapatio Costeño, Peoria City at
I believe
Springfield.
that is Tapatio is what that is.
Tapatio Costeño. Well done.
Costeño.
And up the carp. Carp, that's a fun fun
what
nickname there.
who's the carp? Peoria City or Springfield? Which one of those is the carp? I need to know.
Well, Peoria is on a river.
Okay.
So that there's a possibility there. Springfield's the capital.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I'm leaning Peoria City.
Can I ask a question? And maybe this is just ignorance on my part. Peoria, is it big enough to be called Peoria City? Like Peoria as a place? Does it measure to so isn't there some rule about like city?
Yeah.
Is it a population thing? What's the deal about, like, in England, you have to have a cathedral to be a certain type of place? What is that deal?
Yeah, you're completely right. You go from a town to a city with the existence of a cathedral in there, and it's funny how you get shaped by your environment, because when I was a younger child, that seemed more legit than doing it another way. I was definitely indoctrinated, like, oh yeah, for sure, that should be the way you gauge a city, is if there's a giant church in the town.
All right, so I'm being told Peoria City are the Flying Carp, and I am on board. I am 100% in on the Flying Carp. That's scary. I think that's scary if you're out on the water and there's flying carp. But as a soccer team's nickname, let's go. Let's go, Rob.
I like that too. That's fun. And then Bernardo throwing in Miami FC versus FC Naples. And that's, I mean, FC Naples, one of the storylines of American soccer so far this year. First year getting some nice crowds. And then Miami FC have existed for a while, have definitely been challenging, but you got your finger up. What's up?
That's the Jägermeister Cup, which we should highlight a little bit, right? That's a Jägermeister Cup match, if I'm not mistaken, because USL is doing this interleague cup between now the USL Championship and USL League One. Obviously, Miami is a USL Championship team, and FC Naples is a League One team in 2025, at least for the moment. So the Jägermeister Cup is something I need to inform myself about, catch up a bit on. I'm looking at some of the games, and we had a game on Wednesday, Monterey Bay and Spokane Velocity. I believe Monterey won that game 1-0. Do I have that one right? Westchester and Hartford, Portland Hearts of Pine and Detroit City. That seems like a big one. That's like a for the culture kind of matchup, like grassroots powerhouses. Portland Hearts of Pine brand new. Detroit's been doing it for a while, and Detroit's got stuff we'll talk about in a couple of seconds, but that's a big one.
I gotta say, I saw social media almost movie from Portland Hearts of Pine this week. It was like a father or son, like the dad was a fisherman, like an oyster fisherman, and it was how about the whole like the gruff older generation connected with his kids by going to the games and getting involved, and it was very cinematically shot and very impressive.
Did they do the whole Mainer accent? Were there Mainer accents in there? Because that'd be incredible. I have to watch that.
I'm sure if you're an oyster fisherman off the coast of Portland, Maine, you'd have to be laying it on thick. I was more admiring the cinematography of it all and the dedication to dig into a fan story in year one like that. Tip of the hat. So the Fab Four here for the last week of May: Inter Miami versus Columbus, Cruz Azul versus Vancouver, women's national team versus China, and did we say it's either the Flying Carp or the Jägermeister matchup in Florida would be the fourth pick of the weekend. Thank you for your comments. We are going to ask for your enthusiasm, excitement levels for the final segment of the day. We're trying to get a scale here. What do you think of the 1 to 10 Ray Hudson excitement meter?
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. What noise do you make? How excited are you? Yeah.
So the final segment of the show is getting the excitement 1 to 10 for the Ray Hudson meter for this year's Summer of Soccer. But we're going to come back with a segment in between to gather as much of those in between. If you're watching right now and if you haven't subscribed, what is wrong with you? Come on.
What is wrong with you?
What's the deal? And then if you've already done so, thank you very much. Tell your friends, tell your family, hit the subscribe button. Do that. Then you want to take it to the next level. Membership, $3.99. You get access to videos. You get access to the Discord and so many more things outside of the YouTube sphere. You can support us on coffee.com/morningkickaround and go watch our videos on Spotify. It's a great look there. You can watch videos on Spotify. We are there. And you can also look for Morning Kickaround as a podcast there. Follow us on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Or write us a note, morningkickaround@gmail.com. All right. Segment 2 of the day. Hot topic here on Morning Kickaround. Hot topic of the day here on Friday, May 30th, Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. He's Jason, checking in on the state of expansion. USL, there was a ton of news at the first part of the year. Division 1 league coming, promotion relegation coming. Really sparked a wave of announcements across the country, from teams being announced as existing, teams adding facilities, because there's kind of a little bit of to articulate it, a groundswell of action from cities outside of the Major League Soccer, I'd say.
Yeah. This is a growth moment for lower division soccer in America. And, we've been talking for months now about what USL is doing to position itself as an important league, and as a league, a different kind of competition, or a different kind of operation, because there are obviously multiple competitions. we are yet to see the firm plans on what that first division is going to look like, or how Pro Rel is going to be integrated into the system. But what we've got is a clear influx of money and interest, and which has sparked some new projects. So where are we starting, Rob? What city do you want to start with here?
I think because it's the most recent news, I think let's start in Detroit, because I think that this action was really motivated by the announcement of Division One. I speculated in one of our videos about who would be a shoe-in for the first year of Division One status. I said I wasn't quite sure if DCFC would be. I was told that that's incorrect and that would be the target for Detroit City to be a Division One team. And around about a year ago, then DCFC announced that they were intended to build a new stadium, and then this week came out in the local newspapers that a new rendering of their stadium plans and an expansion of more land for more facilities for Detroit City FC. So the headline there: aggressive timeline revealed to build a pro soccer stadium in Detroit. And this would be, I guess, for local relevance, this would be the heaviest and biggest flag planted by club soccer in Southeast Michigan and probably the state in general.
Yeah, I've kind of always said that soccer teams are only temporary until they build their own stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until they have a place that is theirs, and you identify, it's like the psychology of the community is, oh, they're not going anywhere. They've got a stadium. Right? I think that matters for the confidence level and the interest level in town. Now, obviously, Detroit City's done an incredible job building their culture, obviously helped by an incredibly passionate fan base that kind of congregated around the team in the amateur days and is now with them as they are a professional outfit. The path to this moment was never clear for Detroit City. You know this better than I do, Rob, that they've had to kind of figure out, navigate some treachery and some things. I mean, the NISA and the idea of like what professional league were they going to start in? Did they have the backing? Did they have the net worth individual involved to help them get there, who wasn't going to upend what Detroit City represents to their community and to their fan base? Because that was always the fear, right? Like if you bring in somebody with a bunch of money because you got to meet the professional league standards that U.S. Soccer has for second division or third division soccer, that person could say, well, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I'm just going to, bulldoze my way into getting my way. And Detroit City has threaded the needle and found a way to grow and to get to this point with nothing built yet, but still a very aggressive plan, and without sort of upending what they were originally meant to be. And I think that's great.
Yeah, if you are somewhat new to this level of play or just American soccer in general, if you look into the unique storyline of Detroit has had to write their own story, their own path this whole way. And like you said, they've added ownership and all the sorts of caveats that come with expanding and professionalizing have navigated, you'd say, as well as they probably could, given the hand dealt with the current landscape in American soccer. For context, they started off as an NPSL summer league team,
right?
And then I learned that they had, after a few years, they intended to go to the NASL as it was, but the NASL disappeared, so that was not available, and so there was an NPSL Pro, a pro version of summer league soccer that lasted one short season, and then went away, and then they made their way to NISA, and then NISA fell out, and they navigated their way to USL Championship with an eye to a first division and plans for a soccer specific stadium. So what a journey there in less than 15 years.
I don't want to just stick on Detroit City. There's other stories we want to get to, but I do want to point out that we have a video from 6 months ago. It's a while ago. Get to know Detroit City with Dion DeJaneiro. He's been one of the leading fan figures in Detroit for a long time. So if you want to learn a bit more about Detroit City, go watch that video. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you know when new stuff's coming out. But I was curious. So one more point on Detroit City, Rob, because you know the geography a lot better than I do, being a Michigander. when you move stadiums, right? When you go from one place to another, and this will be the second move for Detroit City, but the first one happened while they were an amateur short league summer team, short summer league schedule, whatever. That, as you said, uh, when you move, sometimes you risk leaving a fan base behind. I think NYCFC was wrestling with this a little bit because they're going to go from the Bronx to Queens. So I pulled up a map. This is just very, very roughly done. But I believe at the top of this, we have Hamtramck and where the stadium is now for Detroit City. And then that lower box is where the stadium is going to be, or the planned stadium is. How far is this and how big of a deal is this for fans of the team if they're used to going to Hamtramck?
I don't think it'll definitely be a habit change and kind of the game day routines that have been developed since they moved to Keyworth in 2017, I believe. In Detroit, we're not populated enough to where like traveling across the city is some crazy burden like it would be in many other cities. They've already moved. So their original venue was Cass Tech High School, which is right by downtown. And in Hamtramck, which is a micro city surrounded by the city. And I actually think that they will add a whole nother demographic and section to their fan base. I don't think they're going to lose at all, Jason, to answer your question more simply.
It makes sense.
Is because their core followed them from the high school to Hamtramck, and they've really grown out. And to be fair, most of the locals in that neighborhood, like they do plenty of community action, but you wouldn't say they added the demographic from Hamtramck, and it's a significant part of the fan base. But Southwest Detroit, where they're moving to, is a hugely Hispanic neighborhood that has its own soccer culture that wasn't necessarily coming up to Hamtramck, but I think moving down Southwest is more likely to add a whole nother layer of supporters, to be honest.
Somebody's going to get mad at me, and I want to make sure I'm acknowledging my mistake. My box should be down close to where it says Michigan Central. That box is in the wrong place. It's farther south.
Yeah, it's where the purple logo is. There,
ignore,
right where
ignore the Woodbridge thing. It should be down there by Michigan Central. But it's a little bit further, but it's still, as you're saying, like maybe not the end of the world in there. How big is this stadium going to be? That's another 15,000. It's right.
Well,
there.
that's what I'm saying. Like they've had to, so they're navigating their way up. Like they're inventing a way to promote the American soccer system as it allows now, and 15,000 people is the proposed capacity there. So that would, I think, put them in the running for first division sanctioning.
I believe that's correct. I believe 15,000 is the minimum. Now, again, there will be some waivers. I imagine USL will get some. But if you don't have to have one in Detroit, even better. That waiver can be saved for somebody else who has an 8 or 10 or 12,000 seat stadium. So, yeah, big stuff. All right, what else we got?
Well, probably one of the more recent notes is, so kind of have a little bit of a grab bag here. There is some news of a Central Florida team coming online in the next couple of years. They broke ground on a new stadium in Boise at the beginning of April. So Boise, Idaho, soccer specific stadium of, I think it was 5,000 to 6,000. And then also there is a North Texas USL expansion news. That's probably the most new expansion news. So kind of scattershot across the country. Do you want to look at Brian, the Westbrook connection in Oklahoma? Is kind of interesting.
Well, first, I have a family connection to Boise. I'm not from Boise. I've never been to Boise, but my sister lives in Boise, so this is relevant to my interests on some level. And this is a story from last month about the groundbreaking for the new stadium in Boise. I've also been informed, and I don't know, somebody who knows Boise better than me can maybe tell me if this is true, but I've heard Boise has a pretty strong Basque community, that there are actually some people who moved from Spain and settled in Boise. So I don't know how that impacts the interest in football and soccer and all of that, but obviously the Basque Country, very soccer rich. In fact, I think like 33% of managers are from the Basque Country these days. They seem like everybody is hiring Basque managers. So I don't know, that is something. You mentioned the Russell Westbrook thing. So here's that. This is from the website for OKC Energy, which I don't think they're going to be called that anymore. right? My understanding is that there will be a name change as they sort of reboot this club, but they have a stadium plan. Populous named Sports Anchored Entertainment District Master Architect. Populous, big architect of stadiums around the world. Russell Westbrook to serve as creative director. Man, I don't know. I mean, that's great, I guess. I don't know what that means for what it's going to look like. Like, it could be wild and off the charts insane for if Russell Westbrook's involved in this. But again, look, this is one of those things. Like, I'm not gonna get too weird about Russell Westbrook being a creative director, because soccer in a place like Oklahoma City needs as much help as it can get, getting attention, getting people on board.
Yeah, interesting development. And forgive me for not knowing my my basketball players well enough. Is Russell Westbrook the kind of guy that shows up in like wild, like fashion first stuff to the games, like some crazy fits and whatnot? Is he one of those guys?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. He is not. He is somebody who likes to fly his flag. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is out there peacocking a bit. So that again, that could be a good thing. Like, that could be an interesting thing for soccer in Oklahoma City. And it does feel like you've got a group behind this new bid who's going to do it right. Again, the thing that stopped OKC Energy in its tracks was the lack of a stadium plan. They couldn't get across the line. So now you have new people involved, new ownership. Korjeski, I think, is involved there, formerly an executive with USL. So yeah, there's something good there happening. I would love to see, and I'm sure that we could find a rendering of what's going on in Oklahoma City, Rob. But what else do we have?
In the chat, Ryan puts a good note in that Fort Wayne FC is well underway on their new stadium for USL 1. So that's a very interesting development with DeMarcus Beasley fronting that team. Also in the chat, there was another one. Sacramento apparently has some new renderings coming out with their new stadium project as well. Maybe not quite as grounded in reality, but fun nonetheless. Is what do we think about American soccer on a blue field, a la the Boise State football program?
Oh man, I'd have to think about that one. I'd have to think of that. It works for Boise State because they're so unique, and you're kind of like, okay, whatever. They're a second tier football power. I know they've achieved some things. I'm not trying to take away their achievements, but they weren't in a Power 5 conference and all that stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I think we need to avoid making American soccer that weird. I like it being weird, but I don't like football lines, and that would be kind of in that same realm of like bastardizing the playing surface. No.
I mean, I'm already I think plagued is probably the right word. I mean, going back to the Detroit thing, thank God there's going to be a field that doesn't have football lines, because 99% of the fields that are played in this state have football lines on it. So that'll be a great note for them. And yeah, adding blue plus football lines, I think my head would probably explode there. But great to see expansion and the progress, because there was a point in one of the videos was like, is this a false dawn, or is this like truly a new era? So with shovels going in the grounds across the country, you'd think that we're continuing the positivity here.
Let me come back to Oklahoma City for just a second. So this is a shot of like the geography of this. Apparently that new sports anchored entertainment district is where the team would be building their stadium. Again, Russell Westbrook involved. I guess they're also planning a new arena for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm not up on that, so don't get mad at me if this is wrong. And then this is the rendering. I think we shared this a while back when we did some renderings. Or shared some. I don't know. Like this, first of all, it's blurry, so my apologies there. But second of all, these things are usually just placeholders in the early stages of a process. So I don't think this is like, well, probably won't end up looking exactly like this. But if they did build a stadium like this in Oklahoma City, that would be incredible. I would be very on board for that. And I'm definitely with Ian. I almost like the renderings more than the actual thing. Right? Because it's just imagination. Like you can, and plus there's always weird AI people, not AI people, rendered people walking around like on their cell phones for no reason. Like, what are you doing?
the uplighting and the roofs are never as cool as they are in the renderings. The roofing, it's easier to draw like really cool creative roofs than it is to actually build it, I think.
And if there are cost overruns, what's the first thing to go, Rob?
Roof, get out of here.
No roof. If we don't have enough cash, cut the roof. Now everybody's going to sit in the blazing hot sun.
Yeah. And it's like such a, like one of the most like simple, important things, like shade or staying out from the rain is just like basic, like take care of your people that are paying you. But it's one of the things that always gets tossed out the window here. But to wrap up the segment, great to see positive energy and actions still taking place with all these, it's not just press briefings that come out in the news and disappear. So it's good to see that. And we also have lots of videos covering our proposed Division 1 teams, expansion in Buffalo. So check out the Morning Kick Around video thread. Lots of great stuff in this kind of conversation. Follow us on well, let's start here. Subscribe, Morning Kick Around here. Step 2, become a member, join the Discord, enjoy the chat, priority commenting on the videos, and early access, and so much more. And then if you want to support outside of the YouTube sphere, coffee.com/morningkickaround, and look up our videos on Spotify. So we are going to catch our breath as we prepare to rate our excitement on the Ray Hudson 1 to 10 scale. So get your scorecards ready. We're going to come right back with today's big question here on Morning Kick Around. Big question here on May 30th edition of Morning Kick Around. I'm Robert Kerr. He's Jason Davis. To wrap up the week, wanted to test the excitement levels for the Summer of Soccer 2025. We obviously have the continuation of club play. We have the Gold Cup and the much heralded Club World Cup all happening on our shores. So you'd think that the excitement level will be through the roof. I know people have some mixed results. Maybe they're excited for some of it, but not all of it. But we're going to lay out a excitement scorecard on a 1 to 10 Ray Hudson schedule, or rating scale is a better word for it. 1, where is him just sitting cross-armed, not saying a word. 10, orgasmic reactions to a messy goal.
Yeah. At some point in the middle is he's in. He always loves to say he's in when there's a ball played and somebody gets in behind the back line. Whoa, that's a good one. Whoa, it's a good one. That's really great. Ray Hudson was one of my favorite people. You don't have to love the way he broadcasts to appreciate the passion that he brings. I will tell a quick story, bringing in my history as a soccer radio host. When Diego Maradona died, I was asked to go on the air. This is when, I think this was during COVID, if I'm remembering correctly. We may have been doing COVID shows, and we weren't doing that many. And for whatever reason, I was on in the morning, and I'm not usually on in the morning, but they asked me to go on the air to cover the passing of Diego Maradona. And I got Ray Hudson on the show, and the man, 30 seconds in was crying. He was crying over the passing of Diego Maradona, because that's how important Maradona was as a figure, as a person in football, as an artist, as a maestro, as a creative genius. And Ray Hudson, being an Englishman, had every reason not to like Diego Maradona after the hand of God and all of that, but he still appreciated Maradona and what he brought to the game. So anyway, that's my Ray Hudson story. Man's a treasure. On a scale of 1 to 10 Ray Hudsons, I'm like a 6, Rob. I think I'm like a 6. This is not the biggest Gold Cup, and because of some absences, it's not going to feel as important as it could for the U.S. men's national team. I still want them to win. I still want them to do well, but it doesn't have that heat. The Club World Cup is going to have to sell me. As it unfolds, I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to be open-minded, but right now I am very skeptical that is a thing that I should care too much about. I will catch a game if I can. It's going to be on DAZN for free if I download DAZN, and then also TNT occasionally, I guess. And I did hear that the playoff match between LAFC and Club America is going to be on TBS. TBS, they welcome characters. Wait, what's the line for TBS? I can't remember that one. Which one is it?
Is it the Superstation?
Yeah, but but they had a tagline. So like TNT was characters welcome or so. Oh, that was USA. USA was characters welcome. Damn it, I'm getting it wrong. TNT is drama, something. They do drama over at TNT.
Television for women.
TBS was where I used to watch Atlanta Braves games when I was a kid because I had cable and I didn't live in Atlanta. Anyway, and lots of reruns of what's the show where Andy Griffith, the Andy Griffith Show during rain delays.
And which channel? Well, I think it was TNT. I'll never forget the show The Closer. They had promotion every single moment at every single time for The Closer. But
was that a Kira Sedgwick joint, right?
Yeah, Kira Sedgwick is The Closer. And it was like, that was back when we watched a lot of basketball. But I wanted to ask, Kate Phillips in the chat, she put a Ray Hudson 15. Is that a negative 15 or is that a Ray Hudson dash 15? Because if it's negative 15, I would love to get your explanation if it's way down in the doldrums or if it's even a 15, because you're blowing the magisterial marketplace out the water if you're going past the 10.
I feel like 15 Ray Hudsons is too many Ray Hudsons, but I don't know. And shout out to Zachary, by the way, who just became a member. Follow in Zachary's footsteps and become a member of Morning Kick Around. Become an MK Ultra. 15 is a lot. Where are you, Rob?
I hate to agree with you, but I'm in that 6 to 7 range. I love the fact that there's going to be a ton to watch, like in a selfish, because I always, I'm always someone that wants like a little bit of something to look forward to all the time. Like I could do this thing I don't want to do as long as X is later, and it's in my brain usually a game to take in. So I'm going to be excited for the amount of games. Like it's not going to be quiet, but I can't say that like I am on the edge of my seat. Can't wait to see the Club World Cup. Interested to see how it develops. I'm really curious to see, will there be outside coverage? Like, will people kind of galvanize around it, or maybe even non-soccer people? Will it even hop onto their radars?
I don't think so. I don't think this is. I mean, I know they canceled Around the Horn, but I don't think if Around the Horn was on, they wouldn't be talking about the Club World Cup and Around the Horn. I don't think.
Maybe if there was some like bizarro matchup where they could find some kind of quirk to it.
Yeah, like at the end, like, oh, did you know that this team that the Iran Red Dragons, what are they called? That Japanese team. I don't know. Anyway, I do think that we did our Fab Four earlier in the show, and we did not pick the Club World Cup playing game, which is tomorrow. At 7:30 on a Saturday, LAFC and Club America. Again, we also talked about, because of the story out of Mexico, that Grupo Pachuca apparently was spreading rumors about Luis Angel Malagón, the goalkeeper. Anyway, that game is tomorrow night. We didn't pick it. We probably could have, but maybe that says something about our excitement around this tournament. Like, I've called it the biggest game between an MLS team and a Mexican team in history. And that's, by the way, the same weekend that we have the CONCACAF Champions Cup final. That game feels bigger, and yet I still I can't get myself to be like, oh, it's so important.
Maybe the this or that for this segment should have been, what are you more juiced for this specific weekend, the Club World Cup play-in game or the CONCACAF Champions Cup final? It's wild. Is the prize money more for the play-in game for one competition than the actual winning game for another? That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, that says something, right? And again, I don't love that Johnny brought this tournament to American shores and it's overshadowing what is supposed to be our Continental Championship. And I understand that there's some work to be done, and I have lamented the state of the CONCACAF Champions League / Cup, because there's only two leagues rather that seem to matter, that are capable of doing anything in it, and then you always end up with a Mexican champion. And even if MLS started winning that tournament on the regular, I wouldn't suddenly say it's some incredibly prestigious, important tournament, because we, again, have a region, and this is not meant as any offense to the Costa Rican League or to some of the other competitions, the Honduran League, all the CONCACAF countries that play in this thing. I know they want to do well, but because we don't have 4 or 5 leagues that feel important in this part of the world, it just obviously is going to suffer. And I don't know, or at the same level, I guess. It is interesting, though, because that's happening. The Club World Cup is coming up, obviously, after this. We get the Gold Cup. Is this a summer that feels important a year away from a World Cup on American shores? If people aren't paying attention to what soccer is happening in this country, does that bode poorly for next year?
Uh, I would say that, like, re-examining my 6, my supporting reasoning was pretty weak. It was just for volume reasons I was putting it, and it's not a great reason. There's a lot of soccer happening, but it wouldn't be there's not really anything that I'm writing down in my schedule,
Well, this
that
is
would be a
okay.
must watch, but, like, as it develops, that might change.
And obviously MLS is gonna be playing through the summer too, right? It's not like MLS is stopping for anything. I mean, so
Yeah, but
well, tell me.
oh, no, I was just gonna say there's gonna be so many absences, it's gonna be incredible.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Some of these are like cannibalizing each other. Some of these competitions are cannibalizing other competitions. Like the Gold Cup gets cannibalized by the Club World Cup because American players who would otherwise be with the U.S. men are in the Club World Cup. And so instead of like, it's like when we have a Euro summer, or obviously a World Cup is different, but that's the top level. But we have a Euro summer, we have something like that. You focus your attention on this one thing and you get really worked up for it. And it's special because it's by itself, because it sits there as the summer event. That's not what this is. This is like all this others like there's two things happening at the same time in the same country. They're going to be conflicting with each other, and our league, the top level league, doesn't take a break. Obviously, USL Championship and our second division and third division league, they don't stop either. So there's just maybe too much. That volume is a problem rather than a strength.
And I don't think the Gold Cup needs anything else to undermine it before this all happened. Before the Club World Cup, Gold Cup was already trying to find its place of importance and trying is it trying to be a first choice competition similar to how the Euros are for those countries? I'm not even
Yeah,
sure they're shooting.
yeah,
I'm not even sure they're shooting for that. But another thought that I had was I wanted to add to the point of Gold Cup and its importance that we wanted to bring up a game that was maybe one of the most enthralling Gold Cup when the Gold Cup seemed important. I think we're going to kind of do a memory hole bonus episode here, maybe early next week for the members to talk about and revisit the 2011
yeah.
Gold Cup, where I was genuinely on the edge of my seat for that game.
Yeah, if you remember that game at all, you remember how wild that game was. I think there were 6 goals in that game. Am I remember the scoreline correctly,
I
Rob?
don't want to give too much away, but you're
I'm in the
you're
neighborhood.
right.
Okay.
You're
Well, I
right.
mean, that's people could go look this up obviously if they
Fair.
want to. Yeah, it's not a spoiler alert.
No, you can't. You put the blanket over. You can't see that.
Yeah, it happened. What is that?
14 years ago.
14 years ago. There were some subplots in that game, and that game, the things came out of that game. Things happened because of that game that I think we're going to talk about. I'm actually excited to go back and relive, even though it wasn't great for the team I cared about. It'll be a fascinating rewatch.
Yeah, if you want to be first to watch that, becoming a member will grant you early access to that. I think Monday or Tuesday we'll put that together. So become a member today. You will get early access to these videos. You'll be have access to the Discord with so many games going on this weekend. I imagine the Discord channels will be alight. So become a member. $3.99 a month is all it takes is to support your favorite new American soccer show.
There you go. You do all that, do all those things. Do all those things and help us out.
All right, you got anything else before we head into our weekend, Mr. Davis?
No. Have a great weekend of soccer. If you are a member, definitely mix it up in the Discord, and let's do this. Let's have a great weekend.
One more Hudson rating before we leave. Rye is an 8 for my local clubs and a 5 for international tournaments. So a couple shout outs for local teams in the chat today. But I do want to ask, I was a 6. What does a 6 sound like coming from Ray Hudson if he's crossing his arms at a 1 and he's orgasmic at a 10?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Mild manner. What is a middle of the road reaction from the legendary Ray Hudson?
A 6 is probably one of his wild analogies. Like one of his
Cooler
clips
than a polar bear's fingernail?
well, that's a straight up lyric from one of the best rap groups of all time. But okay, yes, so cooler than a polar bear's toenails.
He goes to that one quite a
does.
bit.
He does go in that direction, but yeah, he does say, yeah, he says he says some things that I can't even recreate in my head because they're so like wild. Like, oh wow, slipperier than an eel covered in olive oil. What's happening here?
Ian coming in with one. He's like a witch on a broomstick.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, so many to name, and then we can dip into more Ray Hudsonisms. But thank you for joining in on our excitement meter. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, become a member, watch all the videos. Have an awesome weekend, and until Monday, everybody, enjoy your soccer.